Getting into a foot chase is one of the most dangerous things you can do as a cop, but damn, is it fun. Well guys, in my last video, I asked for suggestions on what you guys wanted to see for a video, and surprisingly, most of you just want to hear stories. So I figured what better thing to talk about than foot pursuits. Now, vehicle and foot pursuits are both extremely dangerous. Vehicle pursuits are dangerous for obvious reasons, and foot pursuits are dangerous because you never know what that person might do once they turn a corner. So a good buddy of mine got into a foot pursuit. It's probably 8 or 9 years ago, and honestly, I don't remember what he was chasing him for. I don't know if he was wanted or what, but the guy he was chasing disappeared around a corner, and as soon as my buddy turned the corner, the guy was standing right there with a pistol pointed at his face. The next thing he heard was click. Thank God this guy's gun jammed, and he tried to take off again, but by this time, my buddy, he pulled out his gun and he shot him in the leg. Needless to say, and definitely understandably, he was pretty shaken up about it. What if the gun wouldn't have jammed? That would have been a direct shot to his face. These are the kinds of things I don't think people think about. And I'm not saying every person that we chase is armed and dangerous, but we don't know that until they're in custody. And me personally, I've never kept track of how many foot chases I've been in, but depending on where you live and the size of the city and the crime rate and all that, it can be a pretty regular thing. I've been in several vehicle chases, I've been shot at, but I have to say the ultimate adrenaline dump is getting in a foot chase. One of the first foot chases I ever got into was actually pretty comical. I responded to a dollar store, and I guess the manager called in because he recognized this individual. He came in there all the time, and he was always trying to steal stuff. And I guess he was watching him on the camera, and sure as shit, guys like putting stuff in his pockets. So I arrived on scene, I made contact with the guy, and I told him to come outside with me, and like right away, he started acting real iffy. And as soon as I got the guy outside, I could see one of the packages that he was trying to stuff. It was sticking right out of his pocket. So long story short, I told him to put his hands up on the wall, and as soon as I started patting him down, this dude just takes off running out of nowhere. So I started chasing him down the street, and luckily I'd already had some units on the way, and my buddy on shift, he was just turning the corner in his patrol car. So he was coming straight toward us. Now let me preface the next part by saying I totally did not mean for this next part to happen. It's like the planets were all aligned in the wrong way for this guy. So as I was chasing this guy, I started gaining on him, and I decided to give him a little push to knock him off balance. I figured he was just gonna fall down, I'd get on him, handcuff him and all that, and that would be the end of it. For whatever reason though, my buddy decided it was gonna be a good idea to pull up right next to us. So as soon as I gave the guy a push, he like lunges forward, and my buddy opens his driver's side door at the exact same time. This guy's head went straight into the metal door. He hit that door with his noggin in a full sprint. Let me just say, it was enough force to like shut the door again. And of course, my partner, he was such a laid back guy, but it was funny because as soon as this happened, like he already had his window down, I guess, and he just like looks down out of his window at the guy, and then he looks up at me and he's like, oops. And I don't know how, but the guy didn't get any injuries. There was no concussion or anything like that, but it was definitely enough to make him see stars for a few minutes. And what's funny is once we got back to the jail, once I transported him, he looked at me and he's like, man, I'm never running from y'all again. Y'all like to hit people with cars. Like, damn right, bitch. I'll hit you with a space shuttle. It's pretty bad when you have to check the other box on the use of force and explain why your suspect got hit in the head with a car door. You guys should have seen me trying to explain this to the internal affairs sergeant. And thank God my buddy had his video recording the whole time, so it kind of backed up my story because it was very unbelievable. Now, depending on where you're at and who you're chasing and all that, sometimes chases can be over like within a few seconds, or sometimes they can go on and on and on. The longest foot chase I've ever had started off as a business alarm. Now, one thing to keep in mind, cops get business and residential alarms all the time. So you start to become complacent, and this is where I learned very quickly not to get complacent in this job. But you kind of get complacent because you're like, okay, well, the last 500 alarms have just been malfunctioned, so I assume this one's going to be a malfunction. So long story short, I arrived at a restaurant, and anyway, like I said, it was a business alarm, and I had actually just gotten food from around the corner. So I hate to admit this, but I actually sat in my car for a second and like took a couple bites before I walked up. So as I'm walking up to the business, I'm starting to get close, and I hear what sounds like glass falling. So I'm looking around, and I see the front door has a huge hole in the glass, and there's still like little shards that are falling off of it. So right away I'm like, oh shit, this is for real. So I get to the corner of the building, And right as I'm calling it out to the other units that this is an actual burglary, the side door, I'm at the corner of the building, so I can see the front door and I see the side door. The side door opens up. That door needed some oil. And I will never forget this moment, because as soon as that side door opened, this tall, skinny black guy steps out, and he looks at me, I look at him, and the rest is history, dude. The chase was on at that point. I was in a full sprint trying to chase this guy, and I was trying to call it out on the radio at the same time so I could start coordinating units to set up like a perimeter to trap him in. And this dude was quick now. All I saw was ass and elbows through the parking lots. And what sucked is we were running at the exact same speed. I couldn't catch up to him, but he couldn't get away from me either. We were in a full-on sprint for about 4 blocks before he finally dipped into like in between some houses. Now let me tell you something, when you're riding around for hours on end and you're bored, and then within 5 seconds you're in a full-on sprint for blocks, that is an adrenaline dump. And by this time there were a ton of cars that were like flying past me, and they were all trying to like cut him off. And instead of chasing directly after him like a rookie probably would, I actually decided to take a step back, and I kind of snuck into the shadows, because I knew if he saw the patrol cars that were all trying to cut him off, he was going to try to backtrack, because he knew we were all going to that location. So I stayed where I was at, and I hid in the shadows. And sure as hell, like in, I'd probably say 10, 15 seconds, I hear leaves crunching, and I see this little shadow. This is at night, by the way. I see this little shadow creeping through, and right there I yelled out, "Police, stop!" And we locked eyes again, and dude took off. And we ran a couple another blocks or so, and he dipped around a corner. Well, as soon as I turned the corner, he was ghost. He was nowhere to be found. And I was like, man, I know he didn't run that damn fast. So I'm looking around, and I see this pair of feet in the bushes right next to me. And he's trying to like low crawl, and I identified myself again. And by this time, I didn't give him a chance. As soon as he got up, like he was going to take off again, I popped him with the taser. He fell down. My partner came over. We got him into custody. I was so exhausted at the end of that foot chase, because we ran. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about jogging. I'm talking about a full-on sprint for about 5.5 or 6 blocks. That's a long-ass way to run at full speed. So yeah, I mean, some foot chases are dangerous. Some are pretty comical, like that one was. But still, I didn't know if this guy had a weapon or not, so I still had to treat him like anybody else and assume that he was going to be armed. So for those, like I say in pretty much every video, those of you that are looking to get into law enforcement, that's why physical fitness is so important, because you need to be able to sprint long distances, short distances. You need to be able to have some sort of foundation of ground fighting, stuff like that. That's all stuff that's going to help you both in the academy and once you're in the real world. So if you guys have any questions about these 2 incidents, let me know in the comments section below. I'm actually planning on doing a part 2. I sat down the other night and I was trying to think of all the different foot chases I've been in. And so I'm taking a few of my best experiences, and I will share those with you guys. And I'm really excited. I was actually really pumped about this video, but I'm definitely planning a part 2, which is probably going to be next. So stay tuned for that. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know, now that I have a webcam on my new laptop, I really want to start doing some live streaming. So what I'm probably going to do here soon, for those of you that are Patreon subscribers, I'm probably going to do some like personal interviews or like Q&As just with you guys. And if you're not already a Patreon subscriber and you want to help support the channel, I'll leave a link in the description below. So Patreon members are going to get first dibs on interviews. But once I do 4 or 5 of those, then I'm going to do like a public one on YouTube. So I'm kind of curious to see how many of you will show up for that. I'll do a live broadcast and answer questions and stuff like that. So anyway, just kind of want to give you guys an update. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys very, very soon.